All right. Hello, single ladies. I wanted to just sort of give a little um, a little preview, preface, whatever we want to call this, before you listen to the pod. Right after the election, I recorded some of this with my cousin Marley, who is in her early 20s. And if you know me, you know that I am going to lean a little bit more liberal. It really is a topic thing for me. I can be moderate on some things, and I think politics are super personal, so I try to play that pretty close to the chest. But this felt monumental. This felt like something we needed to talk about. And regardless if you agree, disagree, haven't done your research, not sure what you believe, I think it's worth a listen. When we recorded it, I think it was the Friday after the election, and we were really emotional, and it was a really tough week for a lot of women. I mean, for half the country, right? Like, it was such a divided space back in the fall of 2024, right up until election day. And then my friend Siobhan, who you guys are going to get to meet, who is amazing, we recorded our feelings right before Inauguration Day, like the week before Inauguration Day. And there's a lot of hype going on, and there's a lot of Senate hearings going on, because obviously good old Donald has nominated people who are not qualified for government positions and who look to be probably approved. So it's interesting in our world. I don't think my generation has ever seen anything this volatile. Maybe it has been out there and I just haven't felt it personally, but it just feels different, and I think it's worth a conversation. So again, I know politics is super dicey. I know everybody's got an opinion. I know everybody sees things through their own lens, which is great because that's democracy, right? Like, that's who we are. That's what we do as individuals in this country. But I think it's important to talk about. I think it's important to share. I think it's important to listen. And while I might not agree with you and you might not agree with me, I think it's all about having the healthy conversation. So listen to this pod. Know that there's a lot of emotion. There's a lot of different viewpoints. I hope you listen. Please comment after you listen, and share how you're feeling. I mean, I'd appreciate no hate speech. Like, we have enough of that out there. But if you've got a pretty solid opinion and you want to share it, like, we'd love to hear it. So, all right, enjoy. There
I
you
just
go. You're
I
like,
s I just seriously don't get it, like, it's not and it's not like it's anything that's hiding, like, it's put out there in plain sight. You can literally look it up. You can put 2 and 2 together.
yeah,
Like, they are not for the middle class.
they
Why
never
do
have
you
been.
think rich people want Trump in office so bad? Because they make more money, and they do not have to pay more when they make more money. So who's paying?
We are.
Because we still have debt, and we still have wars that they're gonna fund.
Well, he'll pull out of Ukraine. He'll do that pretty quickly. He'll do that, and he'll do he has to do the immigration thing. That was his entire platform.
The
So
mass
that's
deportation.
the
Yeah.
thing is, he doesn't really have the resources for it. So they were just talking about it, and I need to stop watching the news because all it's doing
I
is
had to get off TikTok and stuff because it's just like I wanna be posting resources on, like, Instagram and TikTok and, like, being active in that way, but I it is too like, I need to process myself before I even get in the middle of that.
I know. Did you find out, um did you watch election results, or did you wait for Wednesday morning?
I was watching them, like, throughout the night. I fell asleep at about 10:30, and Trump was, like, at 190 no, I wanna say he was a little over 200 electoral votes, around 209,
Yeah,
and he was winning.
he
He was
was
leading the entire time.
yeah, go
I
ahead.
woke back up at, like, 2 AM, checked it, nothing had been called, but he was still leading, and then when I woke up at 5 AM that morning, I literally, like my alarm went off, and I usually, like I'm a little grumpy because my alarm's going off at 4:45, 5 AM, and I immediately, like, instead of just, like, turning it off and coming to, I immediately shot up, like, it's like I knew in my body, what was about to happen, I shot up like in a panic. I grabbed my phone, I looked at it, and it was like Trump. He not only won electoral, but he won the popular vote. And I thought, and then
Good.
they had called, I don't know when they called the Senate, but not the House or vice versa.
I don't think they've called the House yet. I
But
think they're in
Republicans
recount.
are leading.
Yeah. Last I heard it was in here. I can look it up real quick. Last I heard they were in recount status. Um, so then did you go to work? Is that what, like, how did,
Yeah, so I got up, I got ready. I my friend who lives in New York, she called me and it was like 5:50 our time and I had gotten ready. I was sitting on my couch having my coffee. I couldn't even bring myself to do my word search that I do every single morning. I was like, I just need to sit here in silence and process this. And my friend Alyssa from New York had called me at 5:58 and she's like, "Girl," and I said, like the first thing I said was like, "How are you doing? Like, are
yeah,
you okay?"
yeah,
And it was her and her roommate Michelle. And they're like, I genuinely like I'm in awe. Like, and my friend Alyssa, like, she's black. And so she was like, I thought for the first time we were gonna have like not only a female, but a female of color in office. And she's like, I should have known better that people would not vote for her, not only because she's a female, but because she's a woman of color. And like the fact that this is a conversation we're having within 5 minutes of our conversation, probably a minute of our conversation, of at 5:58 in the morning, my time, almost 7 o'clock her time, like this is what we're talking about on a Wednesday morning. It's like so surreal.
yeah. I know. And it like there was a pit in my stomach. Like, how did you, because you work in red, we both live in red states.
Probably
So
one of the reddest states. I mean, for me, I'm in Mississippi and I'm in the Bible Belt,
heck
and
yeah,
I
you are.
also work with all men,
Yeah.
um, mostly older men or middle age to older men, um, and mostly older white men.
Mhm.
And so going to work was just like, I did
Brutal.
not want to go, but I had to. And it's honestly, as the days have been going on, it's been so hard, like, to process because I have to go into work and I still have to be professional and I still have to act like nothing's bothering me. I still have a job to do. I still have a job I'm getting paid to do. Things are still on my to-do list.
You got bills.
But yeah, I've got bills. And when I walk in the door and everybody's like, "Oh, I'm so relieved after that election." It's like I couldn't be in the office. I had to go find something to do. And it's been really hard to process in that way, but also in a sense, it's made me super heightened to everything, like every interaction I have with these men I work with. Cause it's like things that I previously maybe have been ignorant to or naive to understand. It's like, now I'm like, are you doing this because what do you think of women when you're doing this? Like, I had someone come into my office and they were venting to me, and it was one of my older coworkers, and I was listening and I was like giving some insight. And I just said, like, look, I understand that you're frustrated and you're right to be frustrated, but you're overthinking it to the point where you're going down a rabbit hole and you're starting to accumulate all these scenarios that haven't happened and you're getting yourself so mad about it. But I'm like, you don't know what's going to happen, like yada, 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 going through the motions. And he's like, okay, okay, okay. I get it. I get it. Quit fussing at me. And I'm like,
That's not okay.
I'm not fussing. And I looked at him, I said, I'm not fussing. He's like, no, no, you're not. And I said, I know I'm not. I said, I'm not fussing. You came in here, sat in my office. I have things to do. And whenever I don't validate your feelings, your emotions, and I'm telling you like what you would tell me, it's fussing.
Yeah.
And I may have previously been able to like shirk that off or just be like, okay, like get out of my office and make a joke of it. But it's like, I can't make light of any of that stuff anymore. I can't overlook any of it because I know what people truly think of women, and I don't think it's that they dislike me or my character, but it's like that ingrained misogyny that like I can't I can't pass it up anymore. Like I can't be civil about it. I'm going to tell you to stop this narrative. Like when you do that, you paint a narrative about me. And as a woman, I don't have the luxury of coming in and automatically having respect like male people do.
No, we don't. And we're white women, so we should, in theory, have more than Black women.
Mhm.
Maybe we do, because I don't know what a Black woman has had to go through. I have friends that are Black women, and I do know it is ridiculously tough for them.
I couldn't
But
imagine. Yeah.
yeah, we still, as a gender, it's a rough deal. So if it's rough for us, I can only imagine how it is for a woman of color.
I and doesn't that make your stomach sink knowing that like you deal with some shit that is like bad and
Mhm.
not okay and so obviously wrong, but to think that there is a group of people that have it worse is like it's inhumane.
It is. But you know what? I'm not justifying any of it. The reality, but I am a realist. And
Mhm.
so our country was founded by old rich white men who thought women were property and they didn't want to pay their taxes.
Yeah.
So, and if we're talking about things on an energetic level, because you know I'm such an energy person, that
Mhm.
shit's been passed down generationally for centuries. And
Mhm.
until we do something about it, until there is something monumental that happens that breaks not just the generational curse, but society wise, this shit's going to continue to rear its ugly head. And I think it's the helplessness. I mean, that was really hard on Wednesday, was just feeling like the wind was taken out of my lungs. It was like, I know there are not so great people out there. And I also am going to blame our educational system because I feel like this is extremely based on
Yeah.
awareness, ignorance. There's just so many things that I'm probably going to say in this podcast that are controversial, but I don't really care. I am gonna call people who voted for him ignorant, and I'm not meaning that in a derogatory way. I don't think they either knew how to get the correct information or they didn't care enough to get it, and they were only concerned with themselves. Because I do think that the majority of these votes, especially in that bro category, which we need to talk about that because that just annoys the fuck out of me.
Yeah.
That bro category, I mean, we have really not done a good job with young men. Like their society has really screwed them up because expectations have changed, but the way they're raised hasn't changed. And it's just this big clusterfuck. And that 18 to 29-year-old group, I mean, the vote he got out of that was astronomical.
And
This as a
it
whole, like with women, how do we move forward after being just heartbroken after this overqualified woman who was ready to like take this job that is not easy and has a lot of scrutiny, and she was willing to work for everybody, even people who hated her. I mean, and there was a lot of hate rhetoric at the end, right? Like she was definitely not winning a popularity contest with a lot of Americans. Like how do we how do we recover? Like what do we do as an individual just to keep momentum? And I think that's what I've been trying to figure out this week. I don't necessarily have an answer other than to just keep being the difficult woman that I am.
never stop that. Never bend your boundaries to anyone. But I will say that I had watched a live with AOC, Alexandria, and I whether you agree with her policies or not, this isn't about politics. I think she had an incredible response to this because she knows that a lot of her following are probably very scared women who don't know what to do. And so she wasn't kind of, she was like, what does this mean? And it's on, you can go on TikTok. I believe it's on.
We both know I'm not going on TikTok.
Okay,
Um,
I'll send it to you. I'll find it on Instagram or I'll find the YouTube video, but it was posted by Courier. But um, they posted the entire thing, and it was basically just like like going over like what does this mean? When is this going to take place? Like, you know, validating the feelings, but not just that, like what can you do from here? And she said, the biggest thing that you can do right now, I mean, I think we're all of us women are like, we want to see a change, we want to make a change. And she said the most important way to do that is to form a community with these women who are feeling the same way. Because if you do not have those women to support you and to move with you, you don't really have a whole lot. She's like, we can't do anything divided. So find your community, find your people, lean on each other. And when the time comes, like when things need to be done, they'll present themselves to you. It's hard to say right now when Trump hasn't even, you know, taken office, or these things that we're so worried about, they haven't taken effect. Um, but at this time where we're all feeling emotionally like distressed and disheartened and defeated, like find your people, lean on them and create that community, because you can't do this alone. And you shouldn't have to. Even if you could, you shouldn't have to.
Which is a great, like, I love everything about that because that's what I'm striving for on the single lady,
Mhm.
lifestyle blog and website and the podcast too. Like, I you and I both are very fortunate to have different experiences that have led us to the space we're in right now, and I've always said I think you're an old soul, um, because you just are so knowledgeable about things that not everybody at your age is. And I want the single lady space to be a safe space. And I want it to be where we learn and we grow and we can do things, even if it's small things, together and figure some of this out and help each other along the way. So I love that. I need to go watch that, but I love that sentiment.
I'll see if I can find it and send it to you. And I think like adding on to that, it's not just, I think, to take it a step further, it's not just finding other women who are feeling the same way as you, but other people who will see huge effects from this administration and what could take place, like your LGBTQ plus communities and your people of color and immigrants and things of that sort. Like we're it's not just a women's issue, it is not just a battle of the sexes. Like there's so much beyond that. And if all of those groups band together to see a change, to make a change, to create a community, you're just that much larger and you have that much more support from so many other backgrounds, and vice versa for them as well.
Yeah, no, I totally agree with that, and I think you're right. So, I think that's a great note to end this sucker on, don't
Yeah,
you? That
I'm with you.
that does yeah, I'm gonna stop the record button unless I wanna mesh this into the conversation I had with Marley, like, right after the election, but,
Yeah.
like, I mean, the inauguration's on Monday, and I don't know about you, but I'm feeling like
I just want him to not start it off like MLK. I don't want him to draw the comparisons.
it makes me so
They're
mad that
not comparable.
they shouldn't even be spoken in the same breath.
Oh, but I know that he probably will allude to it.
Oh, well, he's gonna take, credit today for the ceasefire too. I mean, like, there's so much
Oh,
he's gonna
yeah, obviously, because he just called them and that's
and they're afraid of him.
nobody's afraid of him. Nobody.
Give a shit.
Maybe public restrooms and sheets are afraid of him.
People who have something to lose, people who I think look at all the corporate people who are like, look at all the corporations who've bowed to him, right? Who
That's
I mean,
rented.
the one that you have not heard about is Microsoft.
Oh yeah, but I thought he went down there too, didn't he?
I don't think I've never heard anything about Bill Gates going to see Donald Trump. Have you? Like,
Yeah.
Bill does so much philanthropic work. Like, I think he's been super quiet.
I know his wife's not feeling it.
No, but aren't they divorced?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
He's a
I
cute.
I don't know. Maybe he did, but and he did it super quietly, but the press has not caught wind of it and blown it up the way they did with Zuckerberg or Bezos and all those. And then did you see Elon might buy TikTok? Did you see that horse shit?
Yes. It's like we can have nothing, you know?
I know. I was in the car today driving because I was like, I knew we were gonna do this tonight, and I was like, okay, I want to have some good things to like talk about and actually like dig into. Because I'm just kind of numb right now. I'm like, this shit's happening regardless. Like, how's it gonna affect my everyday life? How much am I gonna let it affect my mental health? Like 2016 to 2020, I don't think I watched very much news at all. I didn't
No.
travel. I think I traveled internationally once to Mexico. Like, I just didn't feel like our American policies were going to allow me to go to places like Europe and be okay.
Okay,
um,
Bill Gates did. He did reach out to Trump.
oh, we did.
Mhm.
What did he
It
do?
says it's not clear whether the two will meet, but he has reached out.
Okay.
Whatever.
All right, Bill.
Do what you got. I got everybody for themselves.
Yeah, it is. It's a free for all, right? I was like, so in the car today, I was like, yep. I was like, I think I might need to take archery lessons because this is like full on Hunger Games.
Yeah,
Like,
that would be fun.
full on Hunger Games. Let me.
Don't you think though that I was thinking about it and I was because like I was gonna wear all black, but then I was like, you know what? This is not really mourning because I feel like we were always headed this way. Don't
Yeah.
you think like I was reading something that said Obama was the glitch in the Matrix? Not this was the way we always were headed.
Do you watch that patriarchy channel I sent you?
Oh no, not recently. No, sorry.
She's done. I have to figure out which one I watched the other night. Like I've been watching her right before I go to bed. I like her. I think she was a college professor just by the way that she sort of handles herself. Um, and she mentioned in the video because she's doing these little shorts about trad wives, and she's like, "Dear trad wife," and they're kind of cute, which I mean, I appreciate. But she did this big thing about like she showed all the leaders of our country, all white men. And she's like, here are all the leaders in the church. Here are all the leaders who've been in charge of the country. Here are all the leaders. I mean, like, and it was all white men, all of it.
Yeah, it's
All,
always been.
yeah.
Yeah. So like they are not ready to let us have power over them. That's why we didn't
Oh,
win. There's just like they want to make sure they're still in charge because they can control everything else.
I agree, 100%. And I think it's more, I walk a line when I say this because I don't know what's true. It's just a feeling. Sometimes I think it's more gender than it is race, and sometimes I think it's more race than it is gender. I think the gender has always been an issue. Always.
Yeah.
Men had to be in charge of women, no matter what color.
Yeah.
But I
But
think
then you add race on top of it. Well, I told you that football player I saw interviewed. They were
no.
like, why would you vote for Trump? And he was like, well, a black woman can't be a president. She can't run something.
Yeah, you did tell me that. I
But if you look at like these big Fortune 500 companies, there's not that many. So that sentiment is shared across a lot of people. So it's kind of like, well, if you wouldn't vote for Hillary, she's white. And then you wouldn't vote for Kamala, she's biracial. Like, what else is acceptable in this country? So we couldn't vote for Pete Buttigieg because he's gay, he's open, right? So
yeah.
where does that leave us? Like,
No, look at her face. She's like, it's rough. Yeah, what does that leave? I mean, there's really not.
I mean, what does that do? Like, should we have put a white guy against Trump again?
Well, Biden came out and said he thought he'd win. Remember, did you see that recently? And I'm like, that's not helpful, Joe. It's not
I
helpful.
realize he thought he would win. I'm not so sure of that,
Not either.
honestly. I think that debate exposed him. So,
He
like,
probably would have won if he hadn't had that debate, but
he was terrible.
yeah,
But we didn't primary either, and we probably should have.
yeah. I think that was a huge thing.
It was weird that they didn't. I understand why Biden tried to just push her out there, but maybe that was a step we still should have taken because some people feel like they didn't have a choice,
I
right?
agree. I heard that quite a bit.
Our country that's supposed to be, and you just told us who. And I mean,
Well,
I don't know what other campaign she could have ran to be like, I thought it was a very successful.
Oh, for the time she had, hands down. Like, use your
Yeah,
marketing
it
eyes. Like,
was
it was nice.
outstanding, right? It just wasn't, and I just don't know if it was ever gonna be enough, you know? I don't
Well, yeah, and I didn't mean to talk over you there, but it's
know.
like I think Joe Rogan like got way too much credit. I don't think that's the only reason Trump got elected. I think first of all, I think Joe Rogan's an idiot, and
Yeah,
I love that Kylie Kelsey knocked him out of the first.
I know, finally.
I love it.
Especially of
I
all the people.
love it. She's like, Don't fuck with me" kind of girl. Like I
Mhm.
love her for that. Uh,
Yeah,
who probably didn't even she didn't probably care that she knocked him out. She just did her thing and
people
then that
like
happened.
it.
And so it's almost better, right? Because you're like, it was so organic. But I think there were so many variables in that. And I do think we are still a very we're a country based on the patriarchy. Like that channel, I'm gonna put it in
Yeah.
the summary. She's freaking amazing and she does a great job of talking about how the patriarchy started, how it has generationally been intertwined into all of our DNA, how these are our beliefs. This is like how hard it's going to be to break those generational thoughts and to get out of this cycle of, safety because we feel quote unquote safe with the white man in power because that's all we've known. And I'm like, I don't know if I feel
All we've ever had though. Like
yeah.
other countries have had women leaders.
Mhm.
Mexico has.
Yeah, she's a badass.
Yes, she is.
Yeah, she's a
I mean,
badass.
we are one of the few that just can't seem to get it. Like Germany had
Yeah.
Angela. Like there's so many places that we should have been far ahead, but we're not. We're still stuck.
Did you watch that? Have you heard there's like a lot that's happened this week, kind of leading up, right? And Biden tonight's supposed to be giving his farewell speech, I think right now as we're talking.
They said it was
Um,
pretty lit. That's
should
what
we
they said. That the writing was supposed to be,
is he
yeah.
gonna like, stay on script? I don't know. Um, all I have right now is the KU game on. I guess I could turn
So
Biden.
all you need to do is tell secrets. Like what secrets you got?
Well, so the
That
big thing,
happened with Kennedy.
well, in like this week, a lot of people are like, okay, well, Merrick Garland didn't start that prosecution early enough.
He that is my number one thing.
Yeah, me
He
too.
he slow rolled that to
Mhm.
the point where he knew the timing of it. He knew it. He did. He did. Oh, that man. He did. Because didn't Jack's report say that he would have been charged with it had he?
Mhm.
Yeah, Merrick Garland slow rolled it. And that counselor, special counselor, did the best he could. And the
Right.
thing he's going through still, just for
He's
having
gonna,
done his job.
he's gonna have to leave the country.
Yes, because the death threats that he's getting, his family. But yeah, I blame Merrick Garland. He's not, yeah,
Because
he's up there. He
if
is.
he'd been prosecuted, he would have
The day
never.
one, day
Yeah.
one. The
Yeah.
man did the insurrection the day, was it the day, couple days before,
Mhm.
fighting 4 years? He had to slow roll it. He did that on purpose.
Well, it's old white man behavior.
Right.
I mean, and they've always had that issue. They just don't believe that Trump's going to come out and do what he does. Nobody thought he was going to get away with maneuvering through the court system the way that he did. And I'm like, I kept saying, that's what my ex-husband does. I've been dealing with that for 13 years. Motherfucker, he just delays, delays, delays. It's like our court system is not set up for that.
No, it's not set up for us.
She's not entertained by our conversation. See her
Yeah.
in her face.
Like
Um,
it's not for us. It's set up for them. Like that's just it, right?
yeah, it
They're
is.
setting up all of this. But then like I feel like I'm at the point where I'm like, this is what you guys voted for. So
That's what the bulwark people are saying, which
it,
I love them. I know they're kind of extreme. They're like pretty far right, but they didn't used to be. They were most of them used to be Republicans, and so now they're fed up with the Republican Party. A lot of them are from the LGBTQ community, which I love because I love listen, the LGBTQ community cracks my shit up. You just don't ever, in my opinion, meet people who are as genuine and like, and if you can be friends with them, I feel like they always are just so lovely because they've been hated on for so long. Like all they want to do is give love.
And the thing that gets me with the hate, it's like, so you can look at me and then you automatically hate me. I can't control this. I was born this way. So you're just basing your hate on my skin tone. You don't know me. You see me, and you're like, that's a. And the same like LGBTQ. They're not hurting anyone.
Oh.
Those are like choices that they can make, and it impacts their lives.
Yeah, like one of the
It's
first
not
girls.
infectious. We can't catch it. It's not a disease.
No, and like it's not nobody's throwing it in your face. Just don't fucking like here's what's being thrown in my face. I'm having to deal with old white men who consistently get pissed off because they're afraid they're losing control, so they act out
Right.
like child like all the time.
That's what's aggressive. Right.
Ugh, but I don't want to deal with that. That's being thrown in my face.
Right.
You,
But
the LGBTQ community, I love you. You, I would rather.
like, it's just like the whole drag show. What is it? The drag queens reading to the kids.
Oh yeah.
I can tell you the kids don't think about it
Let's-
because we did a test, right? Because my brother-in-law's gay. So we were playing the game of life, right, with my niece. And he got to the partner part, and so he picked up a boy. So we were all like looking at her like, oh, she's gonna say something, right? Nothing.
Yeah.
Yes,
No.
kids. She didn't say a word.
Nobody
The
cared.
only time she got mad was when she had twins.
Okay, that's funny.
And then she tried to drop the kids off to other people. They don't care, right? It's just if he wants a boy husband, who cares? Okay. Moving right along. Yeah. We tried all kinds of situations to get her to like, we would watch Drag Race. And so she would see these men putting on makeup and then looking out, turning into women. And we're like, me and Kevin were like, you gonna say nothing. She's like, let's watch another one. I'm like, well, what the hell?
You know, I just looked at the KU score. Well, we're down by 10, by the way.
It's early still.
Is it?
Watch the inauguration. I would.
No. Did you see Carrie Underwood's performing? And have you seen like Joy Reid has torn her ass apart? And I fucking am here for it.
I guess she's always been conservative. And before the PR was like, don't do it. But now that he's got elected a second term, everyone can let their racist, misogynist flags fly, because, like Mark Zuckerberg said, they stopped doing fact checking based on the results of the election. So we're basically saying we don't really care about facts. So,
Yeah, it's definitely a different time. I don't think my generation, I feel like I haven't felt like this before. Have you?
no, it's disappointment, because as far as we've come along, like when you see like all these different biracial kids, and you're thinking to yourself, yeah, that's because eventually we'll get to a point where none of that stuff matters, right? Because you see all these different, and for it still to matter, it's hurtful. Especially with my niece, like I have to explain to her about racism.
I can't even imagine.
Shouldn't, right? Like
I can't imagine.
My nephew's like, he's on his own world. But you know what I mean? It's like, I thought it would be better by now. And I feel like we're backtracking.
Well, because everybody's so fucking afraid. It all has to go. I think it's a fear. Like you said earlier, it's control and fear, right?
Yeah.
The white man feels like he's losing power, so he has to hold it, right? At any means.
This is the way to do it. Yeah.
At any cost. Like, and did you, I sent that to you, the Don Lemon video, which I love.
Fired.
He got fired. Didn't he get fired because he was drinking or something? And
he was talking about women's age and stuff.
It's fucking Don Lemon. Like, come on. Why are we surprised?
It wasn't enough to get fired for. I felt like.
No, somebody didn't want to pay his contract. It was politics.
It wasn't like something where I'm like, oh yeah, you definitely. Okay, so in 2045, they project that white people will be in the minority.
I thought it was sooner than that. Is it 45?
I've always heard 45.
Okay.
But yes, that's the concern, right? Eventually we're gonna flip. Here's the thing. We never did anything. Like, we're not gonna do anything. Like, we're not gonna do anything.
It's like well, did you hear, were you around? No, you weren't, because it wasn't at the party. It was Mike and Melanie and I had brunch around Christmas time. And we were talking, and he's like equating it to when the monarchy in England went around and like stuck their flag in all those countries and was like, this is ours, but it's really not.
Yeah.
Like Ghana was one of them. That's where he's from. And he was like, they need to be giving back some of these commonwealths. I'm like, that's kind of like saying that you're going to make the price of eggs go down. Like, why would you if you don't have to? People are already paying for it. Ghana's already, I mean, nobody's going to, why would you change it?
Other countries are. The Bahamas did in the 60s, I think.
Did they?
Yeah, because they said they were done. Barbados did it a couple years ago because Rihanna was there with King Charles. They were there together when they did it. There's many countries who don't want to do it, but it is hard to separate.
Yeah. Well,
So,
look at
Scotland. I'm surprised Scotland has not.
Oh, they've been trying though, right? For a long time.
Really? I figured once the queen died, we'd see a lot more of them. Because it was basically like, well, it's the queen. So fine. But now I can see them slowly like.
I think they're waiting to see, because I think Charles is not going to last as long as Liz. I think we'll see William in our lifetime, don't you?
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't know if we'll see George, but we'll see William.
Charles, yeah.
But I think, I don't know, it's an interesting, I think, again, it all comes down to fear. When people are afraid, they do stupid shit. And the uneducated people, like, I know I've said it before, but that bro mentality, and the women who voted for him, I just can't wrap my head around it. My friend Kristen, you've got to meet her one of these days. She's amazing. She posted this thing on Facebook last night. She reshared it. I don't know if you saw it because it's been going around, but I almost reshared it, and then I have to be super careful because, like being a business owner, it's hard.
Yes.
So I did not. What'd you say?
You don't know who it is. Sometimes they're not obvious.
I know.
They're sneaky ones. They're like, wait, you?
So here's what she posted, which I thought was amazing. It's from the National Women's Party 2.0, and you can follow them. This was on a friend's page, an anguished question from a Trump supporter. Why do liberals think Trump supporters are stupid?
Oh, Mimi, I can answer.
The serious answer. Here's what the majority of anti-Trump voters honestly feel about Trump's supporters in mass. That when you saw a man who had owned a fraudulent university intent on scamming poor people, you thought fine.
Yeah, that's
when
true.
you saw a man who made it his business practice to stiff his creditors, you said okay. That when you heard him proudly brag about his own history of sexual abuse, you said no problem. That when he made up stories about seeing Muslim Americans in the thousands cheering the destruction of the World Trade Center, you said not an issue. That when you saw him brag that he could shoot a man on Fifth Avenue and you wouldn't care, you exclaimed, he sure knows me. That when you heard him relating a story of an elderly guest of his country club, an 80-year-old man who fell off a stage and hit his head to Trump, replied, oh my God, that's disgusting. And I turned away. I couldn't, he was right in front of me and I turned away. I didn't want to touch him. He was bleeding all over the place and I felt terrible because it was a beautiful white marble floor. And now it had changed color, became very red. You said that's cool. Oh, it gets better. Then when you saw him mock the disabled, you thought it was the funniest thing you ever saw. Then when the Central Park Five were compensated as innocent men convicted of a crime they didn't commit, and he angrily said that they should still be in prison, you said that makes sense. It goes on and on, Siobhan. because there's that many examples of it. I mean, this thing is like, it's, I don't want to read it all because just, you get it, right?
But look, they chose that over a biracial woman. You know what I mean? Like they said, yeah, but at least she's not black. You know? Like
Right.
that's it. It's like
Or educated
at
black
least she's
woman.
not Hillary. You know what I mean? 'Cause it's
Educated.
like, right. It's like they're just saying, yeah, like, right, but she's not black. So
it's interesting because did you watch any or see any of the Pam Bondi stuff today?
no.
Okay.
Just a
She,
second.
what?
Because I've been just working.
Okay. So today I was like, I gotta get on the treadmill and watch a little bit of this horse shit. So I did. And I don't like her. I don't want anybody to think I like her within this conversation. But it's interesting that he chooses angry white women
Oh, is
to,
that the chief of staff?
no, she's up for AG. And so one of the questions, I think AG, yeah, Attorney General, I think.
She was cute, blonde.
Mhm.
I'm thinking.
Yeah, she's not cute. Her face is all wrinkled. She's either been a smoker or out in the sun too long or something. You can tell she's not aged well.
Oh.
I don't know how old she is. Let me look it up. But they straight asked her about, Patel has the enemies within list, right? Oh, she's 59 years old. And she's an attorney, lobbyist, and politician. Yeah, so let's put a lobbyist in there. That's a great idea. They asked her about Patel's enemy list, and she started to defend it. And then the senator corrected her, and he was like, no, no, no. Are you going to support that? Like, are you okay having an enemies list? And she was like, no, I won't. No, I don't condone that. That's not and I'm just sitting there and I'm like, she can say whatever she wants. All the Supreme Court justices that voted to overturn Roe v. Wade said exactly what everybody wanted to hear. Like,
Yep.
it does not matter.
I think that's what we're gonna have to do is try to let go of it.
Yeah.
What's the dude, Pete Hegseth or something?
God, he's a moron.
He was what? Let's go. He was accused of sexual assault, paid to get out of it. He's drunk, alcoholic.
Yeah.
I think he's had a few SA cases, right?
Well, so yesterday they were like, you got this woman pregnant while you were still married to this wife.
Yeah.
You had to be pulled out of the strip club when you worked here. Employees, like your fellow employees said this. It wasn't like here, because he kept saying, oh, that's hearsay or that's an anonymous. And they're like, no, no, no. This is who you worked with over here. Like,
and they still don't care, right? Like that's the thing. Like,
yeah.
But had you put Obama or put a black woman, it would have been a totally different grilling.
Oh, yeah.
Right. And that's the hard part I think we're going to struggle with is just remembering that this is what they wanted. This is what they voted for.
Well, that's what I started to share earlier, and I totally digressed. But Tim Miller from the Bulwark was like, they voted it in, let them have it.
That's it, right? Because we know that, like inflation, did he just announce it was like 25%, I think, Canada and Mexico.
Fair inflation. Well, so inflation numbers just came out, I think, today.
Oh, not inflation. I'm sorry, I meant Trump's tariffs.
Oh, yeah.
I think he said 25% Canada, Mexico, maybe 35 on China. So, like, that's going to be one of the things that we're going to have to all deal with them to think, right? So I'm like, I don't want to hear people like, oh, the prices. Like, well,
you voted for it.
That's what you wanted. So let's give them what they want. Honestly, I don't think Democrats should try to stop anything. Like, I think it's great they can ask their questions, but let them do what they want. Women, kick them out of the military. Like, you know what I mean? It's just like the whole thing with the schools. Like,
You think
Everybody,
it'll explode from the inside, or do you think it'll just? What do you think it'll do?
oh, well, last time everything imploded. It was like, but I feel like this time they have that's what is it, Project 2025 is more organized. And I feel like they're more strategic. Like they were unearthing like rules I'd never heard of before that are on the books for ways to get around stuff.
Yeah.
So I think this time I think they'll be more targeted for sure. Which
Well,
is
I agree. Inflation rose to a 5-month high in December, by the way. And that means the Feds probably won't cut interest rates again for a while. And then here's the other US stocks surge after latest inflation report shows progress on price hikes, but that doesn't, I don't know why the stocks would have.
yeah, what was the benefits?
Core inflation rose, it's 3.2 in December. So it was not great. Because didn't he get it down to like 3 or like 2.5 at one point?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the other thing that's going to get me is that anything that goes wrong, they'll blame on Biden. Right? So if groceries go up, they're not going to think it's Trump's tariffs. They're going to say that was Biden's fault. Just like, where was Obama during 9/11?
Not in office.
He was not in office.
Was he even a senator?
No.
Was he in law school? I think
Maybe. But they said, well, where was he though?
Not in office.
He was busy doing something else, wasn't he?
I kind of think he was in law school.
Like that, right? Like